this. This is going to have us finish this chart. We have two charts here, and then I'm going to have to construct a histogram for this data. Top says for 108 randomly selected college applicants, the following frequency distribution for entrance exam scores was obtained. We need to finish it. It's partially done. So I have my class limits, okay, and I need to call it the class boundaries. If you remember earlier, I said that class boundaries are always a half a point below the lowest class limit. So in this case, the lowest class limit is 90. So my first one is going to be 89.5, and it's going to be half a point bigger than the highest one, so it'll be 98.5. Now I might run out of room here when I'm doing this, so kind of bear with me because it's not very big chart. Now, that's my first one. The next one, what I do is I take that 98.5 and I just carry it over because that's a half a point below 99. Okay? And then that's going to go to 107.5. Again, I just carry that 107.5, and I go to 116.5, and now here I go to 116.5, I go to 125.5, and last but not least, I go to 125.5 to 134.5, so it's going to be just above the 134. Okay? Now, let's talk about the class midpoints. The class midpoints are going to be the numbers that are immediately in between my class limit. So what I need to do is to figure that out. I would sit here and I'm going to write this off to the side as I would do 90 plus 98 divided by 2. And that would give me 94. And so I would do that for every one of them with a calculator, figure out my midpoints. So like I would do 99 plus 107, and I take that answer and I divide by 2. And I end up with 103. You could do that on your own and just check if yours match mine. Next one would be 112, 121, and 130. Those are my class midpoints. So they're really not that bad. And then I have my frequency already completed. Let's go ahead and do the cumulative frequency. Let's just go ahead and do that. We see here it says less than and it has a blank. So I need to fill that in. Notice there are 6 things here, right there. But in this chart over here, I only had 5. This is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I just did that. Okay, there's only 5 of those. Why does that have an extra? Because the very first one is always less than your lower, you see where I'm underlining over here? My lowest boundary. So my first one's going to be, let's switch to a different color, 89.5. Now I'm going to go and write my other boundaries. I should end with the highest one, the 134.5. So if you do this correctly, you should always make sure that you have one more of these than what you had over in your frequency distribution little table that you made here, okay? So the next one would be 98.5, and then this would be 107.5, and then this would be 116.5, and this would be 125.5. Now, the cumulative frequency. Cumulative means that you just keep going, you keep adding to it. It's everything. Like the cumulative GPA is all the classes you've taken, rather than what's in your major, what's in your minor, things like that. So, the first one, in this case, if you did this chart correctly, is there any value up here less than 89.5? No, because the first one, your frequency, is only in those class limits of 90 to 98. So this first one should always be 0. If it's not 0, then you're doing it wrong. Always be 0. The next one is always going to be that first number, your first frequency right there, the 6. That's always going to be 6. It's not always going to be 6, the number itself, but that's always going to be whatever your first frequency is, okay? Now, this is what the system does. It adds. You keep adding. You don't just go on to the next one. So some people find this confusing because the next one's 28. You might be like, where'd you get 28? Well, I got 28 because I'm taking that 22 plus 6. That's how I got 28. And now the next one, I'm going to get 71. Because I'm taking 28, my previous one, see how there's a connection there? And I'm going to add to it the 43. Okay? Next I have 99. Because I'm taking 71, see how there's that connection there? And I'm adding 28 to it. And then last but not least, I'm getting 108. And I get that from 99 plus 9. Now, notice this last one is 108. What was 108? Oh, it was the number of stuff in the problem. So make sure that that matches as well. Okay? If they tell you that in your problem they're looking at 200 things, this cumulative frequency, your last number should be 200. Okay? That's how much that data occurs. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. This usually can be a very difficult thing for students to get a grasp of. They want to, kind of mess it up, and it's harder than it is. Be careful when you're doing a problem. Now, let's talk about our entrance exam scores, okay? We need to make a histogram. I'm going to extend the page a little bit. Okay, hope I didn't cut anybody off, but you can rewind it and look at it later. So to construct a histogram, we're going to make a graph, and yours is probably a lot better than mine on this thing. See, mine's already crooked. And you need to name it. The name is going to be whatever your problem is, testing, exam scores. Whatever you're looking at here in your data, you need to label it. This is your x-axis, this is your y-axis, and the y-axis is always going to be the frequency. I'm just going to abbreviate that because I don't want to spell the whole word, okay? Now, the frequency, if we notice, let's go back up to the top so I can show you real quick. The frequency, the largest number that we had was 43. We're only looking at this chart right here to do this problem. I'm not looking at the cumulative frequency chart in this instance, okay? So, I'm looking here, my highest number is 43. So I want to make sure that my highest number on this y-axis is 43 or higher. I can't make it smaller. But I can group these y-axis numbers in any kind of interval that I want. I decided to do them by 6. Right, 6, 12, 18, 24. I mean, you guys can do it by 5, 10, whatever you want. 8 matters. Then I have 30. And then I have 36, 42, and 40. Okay? You want to try to make sure that they're about the same width apart, too. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, if you're doing it by hand, so there's a little leeway there, so don't worry if it's not 100%, looking great. Now, don't draw your line like right here, okay? You want to give a little space between the 0 and your x-axis line, just like you want to do the same on the y. So I'm going to go ahead and start with mine. And you don't have to worry like, I'm going over almost 100. It's not going to affect the problem. Don't worry like I have to go over really, really far. I'm going to start like about there. So start there, and I'm going to put my 89.5. Now, a histogram is a bar chart. It's a bar graph. Now about here, I'm going to put my 98.5 over here. These might get a little off when I'm doing them because this isn't the best board to write on. And then over here, I'm going to have my 116 about 0.5. And then I have my 125. 0.5, and then last but not least, I have my 134.5. Okay. Now, what numbers I'm going to be using for the bar chart for this, I don't keep saying bar chart, I mean bar graph. Looking at my frequency, alright, I already have my class boundaries. It shows me where it begins and ends. And I'm just taking these numbers right here, and I'm just going up that high on the y-axis, and I'm throwing a line. You can fill them in, you can do whatever you want. So, the first one here is 6. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go up to 6. So I'm going to try to make it as level as possible. So that one's 6, okay, I'm going to write it in there to make it easy. And then my next one is 22, so I need to kind of be in between this 24 and this 18, so I'm going to try my best to get it as accurate as possible. Probably nowhere near close. Okay, so there's my 22, my frequency. Then next I have 43, so that's my big one. So I'm going to go just a hair above the 42 as much as I can. About there, I think. Might be a little off, but you guys kind of get my gist, I assume. That was 43. And then my next one is going to be 28. So just compare on your 30. Out there, I hope. And so this is 28. And then last but not least, it goes back down to 9. So in between the 12 and the 6. Out there. That's my 9. So you don't actually have to write those numbers in there. I just did that so that you guys see that I'm getting the numbers from up here off the chart. And that's what they actually are. You might want to do that for your teacher if you're not the best, artist or drawing graphs. That's what I would say. This is what a histogram looks like. It's a bar graph. You have to label exam scores. You have to label frequency. You want to label your x and your y-axis. You want to make sure that you're putting your class boundaries down here. Whoops. And you want to make sure that you're doing your frequency, that those are even distance apart. And this is how you do a histogram. The next example is going to show us how we do a bunch.